Hey everybody, how you doing? It's Tommy again. This is the second part of a couple part video that I'm making on my process in REALCOMP. This is our MLS locally in Southeast Michigan. If you're not in the area, we're using the RCO3 backend, which they've had out for a couple years now, and I find it pretty powerful. The previous video is on how to do custom displays as far as being able to visibly see the data when you're looking at it online. The second that I'm going to do is on custom exports. So the difference is that unlike a custom display where you're just plugging information in to take a look at it, which was on the screen itself. So all right, this is all the data, changing the displays so we can get different information that we want on the screen. An export is actually going to shoot out a file from the MLS that is what we call a CSV file, which is basically a spreadsheet file. It stands for comma separated values, and it's like a very portable spreadsheet style document, so you can use it in a lot of different systems. I personally use Google Drive and Google Spreadsheets for everything, but I know a lot of people use Excel, Open Office, there's a ton, Numbers for Mac. So anyway, the CSV file is really portable, and it's going to go wherever basically you want it to go. And then you can, the premise behind it, why there's any value to it, is that after you've got it as a file that you can bring into a spreadsheet, you can then run more data profiles on it. You can basically, it becomes data at that point, and you can process it as such, whether you're doing it through software, whether you're doing it through formulas or Visual Basic inside Excel. But basically, you can parse the information and do different things with it. I won't get into what I'm actually doing with all the data because it's kind of beyond the scope of this specific video. But I'll just do one of the spreadsheets that I have, so you can just kind of get an idea of what I'm doing. Now, any search will do. So, I mean, if you want to pull up a particular thing, you can. I have speedbar shortcuts, which I guess might end up being another video too. But basically, what you can do is set. You can create speedbar shortcuts in RCO3 by creating a / and then a keyed phrase, and automatically get a particular style of data extraction out from that. So for me, one of the things that I do, one of the tools that we use is what we call our total market overview, and that will take all of the data from a particular city. In this case, I'll do Troy. And it will basically give us all the data for anything that's happened. Now, so I type / TMO, which I built that. I mean, you're not going to have TMO because that's another custom thing that you can put in under my RCO, under the same settings portal that the rest of the stuff is coming through. So I just put that in, and then / TMO, and then Troy, and it's asking me, you want it to be the city of Troy? Yes, I do. Okay, so what this automatically did was it extracted all of the market information that I'm concerned with for the city of Troy over a set period of time. If we go to criteria, see it automatically plugged in. It moved from my defaults to being things that are specific to this type of extraction. So it lasted 180 days, and it's giving me 1 to 100, which is what it's showing out of all 899 transactions over the last 180 days in this particular city. So what I want is all of this data to come out. You could select individual pieces here, or you could also select this the checkbox at the very top of the header here. But if you'll notice, what that's doing is it's just selecting the 100 items that are entered on what's showing. But the reality is there's 9 pages worth of this to get to that 899 number, and we're only seeing 100 per page. So you're actually only checking 100 here, and that's not what we want. So we want to check all, and it'll tell you right there, all right, you've checked everything, and that's got all 899 of these entries now have been marked for extraction. So we can go down to the bottom here, and we've got export. If we click this button, it will bring us to the export window. Now, again, until you've gone in and made custom exports, you're only going to have a handful of things that come along with the system. And so there, you're not going to have the things that I'm extracting right now because you haven't built them yet. So I'm going to go in and I have my second version total market overview that I will export. And that gives me my CSV file. So here we go. Oh, no, wait, where'd we go? TMO. CSV. All right. So what this is going to look like here is very similar to a spreadsheet. I'm using Mac, so I can automatically view them. You might not necessarily. I don't think you can do a quick preview on Windows. But I mean, as far as you're functionally, you know, if most people are concerned, this is showing up as looking like a spreadsheet. However, if you actually were to look at the document in a text editor, and this is what makes them powerful, and this is why it's this instead of something else like an Excel file. Because Excel, when you open a particular company's spreadsheet, it's going to have all kinds of real specific code. I mean, it's not going to just show up as plain text, whereas these CSV files are literally comma separated values. So what you're looking at here is all of these separated by commas. It's that easy. You know, but as far as the spreadsheet's concerned, it's going to know to look, hey, look for a comma. I know it's another cell or another row, and that's kind of that's how this standard basically works. So, all right, now that we've got that, I'm going to open one of our templates. Now, again, you don't have this, but I mean, you can use whatever you're using, whether it's Excel or however you want to, whatever you want to do with the data is up to you after the fact. The way that I set this up is I have, you know, this is one of our easier sheets. This is breaking everything out, price per square foot wise, and the way that this sheet was set up was based under the assumption that the data coming into the second sheet, which is my TMO data sheet, is going to be in a particular order. So it's assuming, like I went in and I built this custom export for TMO version 2.0, and it's going to spit out that data in a particular way that this sheet is anticipating. And then from there, this sheet will populate based on the data that goes into it. So the way that we do this, at least in Google Docs, the same thing would happen in Excel though, is we're going to import that entire sheet. Wherever the little magic fella went. I've got a lot of stuff, I know. All right, so there's our file, TMO version 2. That's getting dropped in. All right, now it's going to want to know what we want to do. I'm just going to replace the current sheet, not the whole spreadsheet, just this one sheet that I'm on. It's going to automatically detect what I'm spitting out here. All right, and that is now all this data that I just pulled out of the MLS. So if I were to go on to this and I go back to the results set here, we see it like this, but basically it's all the same data. It's coming out now into this sheet. So now if I go over back to my original total market overview sheet, it automatically populates all of this data and gives me basically just some real fast reporting to work with now. That gives me information that would have been a little more difficult to glean had I actually tried to sit down and go through it and pull it on the MLS myself. So what this did was it broke up every single sale over the last 180 days into different price points, along with active properties on the market. This gives me, you know, a real quick bird's eye view. This is a part of my listing presentation added to, you know, I also have comps and net sheets and other things in the actual listing presentation for a particular house, but this is really just about an area to get a brief idea of a whole city, what's going on. So if I pick a price point, all right, 200 to 250, I know I've got 15 actives and 17 pendings, so I've got a pending ratio of 113%. That means that there's more than enough buyers in that market, at least a buyer per house. Relatively low expireds, quite a few solds, and then it's giving me some automatic numbering versus average list price versus average sold price. I know it's within 98%, so people are getting what they're asking for. My average for my days on market, so I can get, you know, as an investor, I can get my quick my quick assumption about how long I can expect to see this house sitting. Now, granted, there's caveats with this because, I mean, it might not, you got one house selling in 2 days, one house selling in 140. So these are averages. But at the same time, it's still giving you a pretty good indication of what you're working with. My average list price per square foot, so that's good information. And then it throws out some other data here. And again, this is all stuff I've plugged in, so you can have this. You could use this, whatever sheet you're using, to run numbers in any way that is going to be viable for your business, whether you're a retail agent, whether you're an investor looking for something in particular. You can extract any data you want out of the MLS. The point is that this is the kind of power that you can get when you're dealing with the files. You're extracting CSVs yourself. So it's giving me all this information here, all my global averages for this area, how many cash sales versus how much conventional FHA, VA action, how many land contracts are out, private owned versus bank owned versus government owned, Fannie Mae. Average year built. How many short sales out of all those transactions, how many of them were short sales. This just gives you a really quick way to overview a city, which is why we call it Total Market Overview. So anyway, how do we do this? This is now, now that you're all excited and you want to build your spreadsheets, because that's the kind of people we are, and it's a very exciting world to live in when you can have spreadsheets that do this stuff for you. So we will jump over into RealComp again. My RCO settings. So it's in the same place as the custom displays were. And for the record, this is also where your speed bar shortcuts are, where I put in that, this thing's the speed bar. That's where I put in my /TMO, where I set my criteria for that. All right, so custom exports. Basically, it's the same way. Now, also keep in mind here, I showed you before that there's different categories of exports. So if you don't, I can't make this total market overview for just commercial, I can't make this in the residential folder and then go and do a commercial search and expect to extract this same data out, because each one, all of the export options are going to change based on the type of properties that you're hunting for. And the reason being is that all of the options for data types, data categories, are specific to the type of property. I mean, obviously, there's not going to be the same information in residential that there's going to be in multifamily, because there's no inside RealComp. They have no indicators of how many units are going to be in a single-family residential property, because why would it? That's the point of multifamily. So that's the reason each export has to be for property type. So if you make one of these exports and then it's missing when you go to actually go do an export, it might be because you accidentally put it into a different category than you're using. So anyway, for me, I'm going to make a new one, add a new export. And keeping in line with the last one that I did, I'll just make this one land contracts. Okay, now unlike some of this, you got to think what the point of this extraction is too. So unlike the previous cast about the custom displays, the point of this is not going to be interaction on the internet. The point of this is going to be useful data that's going to an external sheet. So we do want an MLS number. However, we don't necessarily need the MLS ID or as a link, because we're not clicking it at this point. This is going to be spit out as a document. So I'm throwing the MLS number in there. Obviously want an address. We'll probably want a city, unless you're, it's up to you. This is all arbitrary stuff that I'm putting in here. All right, so I want all this land contract information. All right, done. These are all the extractions that I'm looking for. And yeah, all right, that's it. We'll just do this. Now, you might want to do, one of the ways that I've set this up is to also think about multiple CSV files. So what I just showed you with this TMO is just one CSV file that jumps to one summary sheet. My CMA process for my comparative market analysis is actually require two separate CSV files, one that are, tight comps to an area, one that is a total market overview, and then there's also a public record requirement and a map requirement that I plug into it. So I've got 4 pieces of information that I'm plugging into one sheet that's got 6 or 7 different summary pages, and the combinations of that data creates information that I wouldn't normally have access to. So like in this particular case, land contract information, you might want to also do an extraction from the public record data for that address, and then also extract the taxpayer address as well. So what then you've got is 2 separate CSV files, and what it does is it spits out a sheet that you can easily access of, hey, these are all the land contracts, hey, these are all the people, this is where they live, because they might not live in that property if they're land contracting. So anyway, that's basically that. So now we will save this. We've got an MLS number, an address, the city that the property's in, and land contract terms saved as land contracts in our residential folder. So we'll go back home, we'll do a search, and we will just leave all that. This will be in Troy. We just want to know what's active because we're looking to buy us a nice new land contract, fancy and shiny. Troy. All right. Now, obviously, I'm just doing this to show you. If you want to actually only have land contracts to come out, you could just pick land contract too. But the point of this is just to have something to show. So we flip this over here, and we're going to select all of them. So we get all 161 here. So we want checked. Get out of the way. We want checked. 161 of 161. That's it. We got it all. All right. We're exporting our fancy new land contract. Export. There it is. Show it in the Finder. Pull it up. And there's all the data. Now, again, this is false. So none of this is actually land contracts that we're particularly interested in. Because we don't have any land contracts. Here's a couple. Here we go. See, if there's no data because it's not a land contract, then it's just going to be empty. So here we've got Waddles, true. There is a land contract. They want this much. It's this. Also worth noting in here when you go back to that land, when you're editing this, there's certain things that we might want to have, especially just for our own readability sake. Like if you look at my TMO data here, on my header, I've got what these individual things are, where if I open this immediately starts with the data up here. They're not giving me a header row, so I don't know. I know that this means false. It's not a land contract because it was a yes or no scenario. So it's false, false, false. No, those have land contract options. But what are these blank spaces? We don't know because we didn't pull a header. So if we go back into, if we want this header line to let us know what the headers we're working with are, that's down here. Include column names. And we just set label or name, and that will then fill this information in on the first row of the CSV file. So then we know every time we import that first header row tells us what everything is. So I also do that. I didn't do it just now because I was moving too quick, but that's why that didn't show up. So that's pretty much it. Once you can pull that information out in a parsable format that a spreadsheet can use, it really kind of changes some of the dynamic of what you can do with data. So yeah. If you have any questions, feel free to drop me a line. Hit me up on TommyDesmond.com or leave a comment in the space below. That's pretty much it. I'm going to keep trying to put up more and more data, more and more content relative to doing actual searching and extractions from the MLS, because it seems to be what people are asking me quite a bit about at the moment. So if you have any questions, feel free to hit me up. Take care.